Howdy folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today for you I have a Marvel's Avengers video, and the focus of today is Marvel's Avengers villains. What I'm going to be talking about here is going to be villains that we know for sure is in game. Some of them are obviously pretty obvious. Some of them are maybe not so obvious unless you're a comic book reader. But anyway, folks, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of a spoiler warning here, folks. First off, if you haven't played through the campaign, you might want to close the video out now, play through the story, and if you haven't and you're still watching the video, enter at your own risk. That's all I got to say about that. Let's not waste too much time here. Okay, what we're going to talk about here first, the first one we're going to talk about is Modoc. Modoc obviously is in game. There's plenty of images out there. I don't think I'm ruining anything for anyone, including people who have not played the campaign yet. And I suspect we will be seeing more of Modoc. He is in the campaign as the final boss for the campaign, or the story mode, if you will. And he is actually in the comic books for the longest time. Most of the time that I was reading comic books from, I would say, the 90s, early 90s, mid-90s, Modoc was like the head cheese of AIM, and he did a lot of different kinds of biological experiments on people and actually made some supervillains.
All units in position.
Everyone's in place.
Right now, as it stands, there's not much about those supervillains, so I'm not going to be talking about them here today. I will probably talk about them in future videos. Now, the next one that we obviously know is in game is Taskmaster, folks. We already know he's in game. He has his own villain sectors. He actually has 2 or 3 different villain sectors, if I recall. He is also a boss fight in the campaign as well. The next one we're going to talk about quickly is Abomination. He's obviously in the game. Part of the story mode, you actually fight him as the Hulk. He is primarily a Hulk villain. Actually, he was even in the MCU in the Incredible Hulk movie. And then, of course, he has his own villain sectors, as he is considered a clone. Now, the next supervillain in the game that really no one, I don't think anyone is really catching on, is actually Monica. Now, she is mostly in the game as kind of like the head face person for AIM itself. And actually, in the comic books, she is Scientist Supreme. And there is actually a couple references for some of the missions where actually Jarvis calls her Scientist Supreme instead of calling her Monica. So that is actually something important. She actually is a supervillain in the game. And actually, you do fight her during the story mode. She is wearing an exosuit, and you fight her as Black Widow. So that's actually a supervillain no one talks about. However, she does not have any of her own villain sectors. But she does, if you play through the game, continues through the game, and there's other references to her as well. Now, the next one they only hint at. There's Easter eggs for him. Obviously, in the game, we have Adaptoids. Well, what happens when you give Adaptoid steroids? You make Super Adaptoid. Super Adaptoid is a much more advanced version and essentially stronger, smarter. He's everything that the Adaptoids are times 10. So, folks, if you think that Adaptoids are a pain in the ass, wait until they introduce Super Adaptoid. Now, there is, from what I'm aware of, there actually really is no coding for Super Adaptoid yet. And this is going from the information I dug up in the beta. However, that being said, there's definitely plenty of Easter eggs in the game for Super Adaptoid. Now, the next character I'm going to talk about too is not really so much as a supervillain as it leads to a supervillain, and that is Sentry. He is part of the final boss battle in Marvel's Avengers, as well as actually after the Avengers defeat the Kree Sentry, Modoc actually does take control of him. Now, this is actually really important, folks, because there's actually already been information leaked for Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel. And I actually did find coding for them in the beta version through the data mining. Once again, I will attach my video in the link in the video description discussing Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel. However, the other thing is there's a part of that once again, this is a character that's not coded, but this is going by the comic books. When the Kree Sentry was destroyed before, which actually I believe in the comics it was done by the Fantastic Four, not by the Avengers, it actually led to Ronan the Accuser coming to Earth. So there actually is a supervillain, and he is kind of like the judge, jury, and executioner of the Kree Empire. He is in the MCU. He makes an appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think he has a short appearance in Captain Marvel. I'm not 100% sure that I vaguely remember him. But he is actually a quite powerful villain and would be quite difficult to for the Avengers to deal with, and that does lead to more or less information out there that's already currently in game for Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel. Now, one thing I've been seeing a lot of people talking about is Black Panther. The Black Panther DLC, I don't know if you really want to say it's been announced as much as it's been leaked. They really haven't discussed too much about the Black Panther DLC. But with that in mind, I did find coding for Claw, which is actually a villain from Black Panther. As you can see here, it's like a sonic cannon for his one hand. He actually has, he had his arm amputated. I believe it was in a fight. And he actually has a sonic cannon. The sonic cannon is actually more or less powered by vibranium, which is actually quite important when you consider that they are going to do a Black Panther DLC. So, yeah, I would say Claw's pretty much confirmed between what I saw in the beta coding as well as the fact that now they are saying, yes, there's going to be a Black Panther DLC. Then the last character I'm going to talk about here, folks, is actually an Iron Man villain, which, well, it just so happens to be Iron Man gameplay, huh? Hopefully you're all enjoying the gameplay, or at least what you can see of it. But this villain is Frostbite. And essentially, I guess you could kind of say he's Iceman. He's not really a mutant, but he has ice powers. Freeze people, shoot ice shards, things of that nature. And he is actually a villain from the Invincible Iron Man comic books. And there was coding for him as well in the beta. I'm not 100% sure when we're going to see him drop, but I do predict we're going to see him drop, especially because there's quite a few missions in the snowy tundra, as well as there's the northern expansion that has the Thor missions. So there's quite a few openings there that kind of puts Frostbite right in his element in the more northern cold sections of the map, where actually he could end up being quite powerful. And I do believe we are going to see him as a villain in the game, hopefully sometime soon, because we really do need more villains to fight against, folks. I mean, yeah, there's the Warbot, which is pretty cheese, but it's pretty logical for aim. And then you also have the Turbulence war robot, the giant plane, if you will. But generally speaking, outside of villains that we can fight in the Avengers Initiative, we really only have Taskmaster, and we really only have Abomination. But I do see openings for additional villains in the future, as they've kind of dropped Easter eggs that they're going to be introducing these villains, or there is coding for those villains. That's why I've decided to do this video today, folks. But anyway, folks, I'm going to wrap it up at that. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the video. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, as I will be doing more Marvel's Avengers content for YouTube, as well as on my Twitch stream. Link to that in the video description below, as well as check out my data mining video for Heroes Leaked for Marvel's Avengers as well, folks, and give that one a like as well. I'd really appreciate that. Let's me know people enjoy what I am doing. Anyway, once again, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will see you all again for the next video.